Oh, let me just invite them in. Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Cult Cinema 83. This is episode 14 of the Cult Cinema podcast, and I'm once again joined, as you can see, by Steven from TVNASH. Steven, how are you, and how have you been? I can see it looked like we were having technical difficulties for a bit, but I can see you and I can hear you, so it's good. So
yeah, I'm fine, Tides. How are you, buddy?
I'm good. As you can, I had suffered from a cold for a very long time, as I told you already. But I'm pretty much recovered, so it's fine. I'm doing good, and I'm ready to do this new episode with you. So let's just dive into it. First of all, let us announce what we are going to talk about today, of course. So episode 14, we thought it would be fun to do a episode about, not the maestro maybe, but definitely one of the maestros of the Giallo film, Dario Argento. So, and the films that we are going to talk about today are The Bird with the Crystal Plumage, his first feature film actually, and opera as well. So, but before we dive into all of that, why don't you tell the audience, what was your first exposure to Dario Argento, and what was the first movie that you actually saw from the maestro?
Well, this might be very surprising to you, but the films we picked were actually the first ones I actually watched of his. I knew of him for years, because he had helped Sergio Leone with his concept for Once Upon a Time in the West. So I knew of him for years. I read a lot about him, and at first he came off as an arrogant jerk to me, actually, because he started out as a film critic for one of the magazines, and I'm thinking like this guy's just gonna be like arrogant. He'll be like pretentious, like he'll try to just do gore for gore's sake and all that stuff, and I'd also read he'd been a selfish lover to Daria Nicolodi, and a pretty, like not horrible father, but he was not very, fatherly. So I avoided him like the plague, and finally after like about 10 years, I think it was, I'm like, okay, like let's at least give his early stuff a chance. A chance. So I ended up buying all 3 special editions of his Animal trilogy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But like even then, it took me a while, to finally sit down and watch them, and I did, and I'm like, okay, he's got the eye for. He's got the cinematography down. He's got the writing down. He's as a filmmaker, I have to say he's really good. Open bang wise, I probably wouldn't want to get to know him all like that. So
no, it's I get where you're coming from. There is definitely some rough ground there. It's I think it's partly to do with a lot of the film industry in European Italy that we are fans of. It's like most people that end up being directors, they usually started working with for earlier filmmakers. Like you said, Argento started as a assistant for Sergio Leone, basically. And it's like, so I guess you have that whole kind of like what the Italians call, familia, family, the family.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like, and I think there was just a lot of pressure, not just from Argento, but from other directors to sort of live up to each other's standards. Maybe that's probably what it was. A lot of competition going.
Yeah.
And, but I will say that the way that he, like, there is a lot of talk around his, with his daughter, Asia, of course, Asia, how do you want to call it?
Yeah.
I'm not good at Italian names, but and I always have sort of like, discounted that. I don't think it's true what they say about him and his daughter. I choose to. I don't think that's actually the case. And it's like, I used this example once when I watched Trauma. Have you ever seen Trauma?
I've heard of it, haven't seen it yet. I've actually been told everything he did after opera is complete garbage.
Well, some of it, not all of it. I mean, like, there is a movie called Sleepless, which is very good, I would say. And Trauma is like, that's a personal favorite of mine. But I'll just give you a little bit of it. Like, Trauma, his daughter is in that, Asia.
Right.
And she plays like let's just say she plays, well, it's not really a spoiler. She plays someone who suffers from anorexia.
Right.
And she eventually falls in love with the main character, the male protagonist. And there is a scene in which she stays with him in the apartment, and she is in the bathroom, and he actually like catches a glimpse of basically her breasts, basically, and and Argento doesn't shy away from that, but I think it's like in the context of the story, what he was telling, it's like, anorexia is a really horrible disease. It's a bad disease. It's really bad.
Yeah, it's bad.
Especially, with insecurity and stuff. And that moment in the movie, for me anyway, is like, that's the first moment where Asia Argento's character really chooses to put herself out there. That's the first moment where she actually sort of dares herself to be vulnerable in the presence of a male character.
Right.
And I think there's a certain beauty to that. And I think that's what it is. So I don't think it's like sexist at all or whatever. But there is definitely some rough ground there. But I don't know. I've always been like a very big fan of Argento myself. I mean, like, we did I did a previous episode with Sarah of Horror, where we talked about two of his more supernatural horror with Suspiria and Inferno. Two films that I really adore. I love those films. And of course, today we are going to talk more about his Giallo stuff. But but I don't know. I've always been a very big fan of his, and Suspiria was actually the first movie that I saw from Argento on TV, and it was just so bizarre and weird and almost psychedelic-like. And that was like unlike anything I've ever seen before. I mean, I wasn't like very accustomed to Italian European cinema yet, and I knew more like the American stuff, and so to see that, it's like, this is so strange and interesting. So I kind of was a fan of his from the start, but I can definitely see why some people have certain issues with how he was handled in the press and stuff. But again, I just think that comes down to a lot of competition within the and basically peer pressure. Is that the right term? Peer pressure. Within the system of like how they used to make films back then. Does that make sense?
Oh, sure. Oh, Charlotte. Yeah, and actually, I think it might have also been like personal pressure as well, because the atmosphere on sets like was always like like not like like devil my care, like and just like doing whatever, but it was more of like a team effort, like nobody stepped on anybody. So I think the filmmakers especially put more in themselves, um you know you know than than anything else, like, really. So
Yeah, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I can definitely see that. Yeah, that's a good point there. Yeah. So, but either way, a very interesting director nonetheless.
yeah.
Argento, I think it was. I mean, but isn't it interesting though that like if you look at like other filmmakers in the Italian like European cinema, like
Right.
for example, if you say Sergio Martino or Enzo G. Castellari. I mean, they did even Umberto Lenzi. They did everything. They did Poliziotteschi, they did
Yeah.
Giallo, they did well, sex comedies, which we don't really like to talk about that much, but it's
Yeah.
not their best stuff. But
Yeah.
and of course, there's also but Dario Argento is basically stuck his whole career to like one, well, maybe two, but basically
Yeah.
one genre, and that is giallos. So
Oh
I
yeah.
think that's a very interesting choice, don't you? Do you agree?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I knew he was very heavily influenced by Bava, because
Yeah.
I have seen stills of Suspiria, and how he used red in that, like, that is very indicative of Bava.
Mm,
Like, he just like bathes the whole scenes, like, in red, and, and that to me is very Bava-esque.
yeah. Yeah, he definitely takes inspiration from Bava. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. I think especially I think he uses a Blood for Black Lace a lot of the times as a template
Yeah,
for
yeah, he does.
for his films. I mean, not to say that of
Yeah,
course they're his own films, but I think that's the movie that he sort of like glimpses back at a lot of the times.
oh
Um,
yeah, oh yeah,
yeah, in terms of colors and stuff. Yeah,
yeah.
so yeah, very interesting. Shall we just, like we said, the bird with the crystal plumage and opera? That's what we're going to discuss today. So let's just get started. Which one do you want to start with, by the way?
Let's go with his debut film for first.
Okay, so the bird with crystal plumage. Okay, fair
Yeah,
enough. So the bird with the crystal plumage. He released this film in 1970,
yeah,
I believe.
yeah,
Like right at the start of the high water mark of the giallo subgenre.
right.
Quick synopsis here. An American writer vacationing in Rome attempts to unmask a serial killer he witnessed in the act of an attempted murder and who is now hunting himself and his girlfriend. So, yeah, that's pretty much sums it up. So, yeah, Bird with a Crystal Plumage. Very interesting film for a debut feature, I feel like.
Oh yeah, it
Uh,
is.
I think I'll get to it in a bit, but I think there is a lot of I think he takes a lot of inspiration from Hitchcock with this film.
Yeah, he does.
You can definitely see certain elements, taken from films like Psycho and stuff that are really in here.
Yeah,
It's definitely Hitchcockian esque, I would say. So yeah, very interesting first feature. Before we go into all of the positives and negatives about this, um, what are some of your like general thoughts on Bird with the Crystal Plumage?
I thought it was very well done. You could see even in even in his very first film, his eye for camera angles and cinematography, especially when he has the Dalmas character, you're trying to remember what he saw. It's almost like he's seeing in snapshot view, he'll start thinking of it, and it'll pause, and it'll start up again, pause, pause. It's not as stylish with his later stuff, but you can tell it's there.
Right. No, absolutely. No, it's I'll get back to that later, but it's definitely I think if you look at something like Deep Red, for example, there is that is style caviar, basically. There is
Right.
so much there. This is still, I think, very much sort of a trial and error kind of film.
Right.
You can really tell that he's really trying to establish his footing as a filmmaker here. Just really trying to deliver a good product. And although not a perfect product like some of his later films, but it definitely has some things going for it, for sure. And I think it definitely is one of his more interesting ones, I would say.
Oh yeah. And actually, one producer actually wanted to fire him early on because because of the rushes, everything. And his father actually went to the guy's daughter, who was also his secretary, and he was talking into her, and she said such and such a scene scared the hell out of me. So he ended up going back to the guy, told him told him what his daughter had said, and he ended up keeping him on.
Right. And I think that's like we talked about it before. I think that's one of the elements of like we said, the competition within the system of the Cinecitta studios. It's there was a lot of pressure there, from producers and all of that stuff. So and I'm actually applauding Argento for just sticking with it and just no, I'm gonna make this movie whether you like it or not. I'm gonna make this movie. So it's that really speaks to the artist there. So actually let's just dive into it. I would like to start with what I think is one of the positives here, but it's a very controversial thing, and I want to lay it out here, and I want to get your take on this. Okay?
Okay, fine with me.
Okay, so let me just lay it out for you. This is one of my personal positives on the film, but it's very controversial because I heard a lot of people say this after watching it. There are a lot of people who have watched this movie who say that Dario Argento takes Dalmas his masculinity away. He strips away the main protagonist's masculinity, basically. And I disagree with this because, when Sam at the start of the movie, after he saw what he thought he saw in the art gallery, when the police Inspector Morricone takes away his passport, he's basically stuck in Rome, basically, and and he could have sat at his hotel room and and sulking and all of that stuff and making love to his girlfriend and whatever, but instead he chooses to take action, and he actually takes it upon himself to become basically a private detective and tried to solve the case either with the police, their help, or on his own. So I think Sam Dalmas is a very strong male protagonist. And I don't really know where people get this idea from. I think it has something to do with the fact that if you look at the art gallery, all the stuff in the art gallery, a lot of the props and artifacts are actually phallic shaped. You know what I mean, phallic shaped.
I just caught that right now. Actually, I didn't. I see it on the first watch, but I'm hold on here, he's right.
Yeah, exactly. And I think maybe partly that's the reason why, but I don't really understand why people are saying this, because I think Sam is a very strong male protagonist. How do you see that whole thing?
I was actually not aware of that, until you actually brought it up. But I mean, I always thought of it as the cliche of him being an essential witness, because he's basically right in front of the art gallery and he's seeing everything, and he's the cops only lead. So it's the a cliche of of him being an important person. He's got the knowledge of it all, so that's always how I took it anyway, and the whole stuff of the phallic art, stuff that could be indicative of the killer's reveal, at the end, and how it's all wrapped up and explained. I'm thinking that's where that part might be more relevant to.
Right. No, I wanted to bring that up first because it's such, I hear that a lot, and it's just such an intriguing and an interesting kind of way to look at it. And I always wonder where people get that from, because again, I don't see it that way, but I mean, it's all subjective. I mean, it doesn't mean people are wrong.
Of course,
it's all subjective, but I just never saw it I just never saw it that way. So I think Sam is a very strong protagonist, actually, because he actually does stuff, and
Oh yeah. I actually always thought if you really needed somebody outside of it to help solve it, a writer is actually a good person to help you, especially if they specialize in mystery stories, because they do the the search and all that or whatever, so they kind of have an insight into that psychology and all also.
Right. That makes sense. Yes. And by the way, isn't it funny? What is it about the Giallo subgenre where so many times the main protagonist is or female protagonist is actually an American, an American writer, an American photographer, an American. It's there's that's sort of the main shtick of the What is that about? It's so funny.
I actually take that as a fish out of water thing,
right?
Because they're either out there, for vacation, or they're there, to do an interview on someone, or to do a piece, for the paper, or have a concert thing to do. So I always saw that as just the whole I'm a fish out of a fish out of water, stranger in a strange land.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, even Sam Dalmas even says that at the start of the film, right? It's like, I've been in Rome on vacation. I have a writer's block, so I saw all the museums. I ate like tons of spaghetti. I had like gallons of red wine, and now I'm flat broke.
Right.
So it's like time to go home. Yeah. So it's like, it's very funny. It's very funny, actually. So yeah, let's just let me hand it over to you. Since we're talking about positives, what are some of your things that you really appreciate about Bird with Crystal Plumage?
Well, how Argento, kept the killer's identity a secret, and I loved, like, because all, like, and you see is this, like, black figure, like, dressed in all black gloves and everything. Thing, I thought like that, like, was pretty cool, cool, the music is also great in this as well,
Oh, yeah.
Adds the, tension and the, like, atmosphere, fear, the characters as well, especially Enrico Maria Salerno's cop guy, because, like, he's actually one of the few, like, level-headed cops I've seen presented in the genre. Like, he really doesn't ever go beyond his authority, and he even tells Dalmas to, like, be careful, like, a lot of the time. So yeah.
I'm a huge fan of Enrico Maria Salerno, and his portrayal of Inspector Morosini is great. He's great. He's just like a very like you said, he's a very by the book sort of police cop officer, and he really plays by the rules. But he has a very almost Sherlock Holmes vibe to him, where
he does.
He's very by the book, and yet he is like determined to really like solve this sort of mystery and stuff.
Of course.
The only thing that is sort of questionable that he does, it's like, because can you really hold people against their will in another country? Is him taking away Sam's passport? But I understand, because he's like a key witness, so he has to sort of do that. But overall, I mean, Enrico Salerno as Morosini, he's a great character. He's fantastic.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, he really is. I also, let's dive into the cast a bit more. I also really love Eva Renzi in this film as, of course, Monica, the girl who we think we see anyway, gets attacked. And she's just presented as this sort of like very fragile and timid and sort of kind-hearted person, who becomes totally unhinged in the end.
Oh my God! Yeah. Oh man.
But I'm sure we'll get there. But it's no, I think Eva Renzi is fantastic in this film as well. Do you agree?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Like oh yeah. Yeah. It's funny. She actually called this role a career suicide one, because she actually stated, even until, I guess, I never checked if she's still alive or not, but I know she, like, constantly regretted taking the role, because of just, like, how like, she thought it was a very, like, like, not well, like, written role.
Right. Well, I mean, it's interesting, right? Because I think Dario Argento makes a very interesting choice with her character.
Oh yeah.
Because because most of the time when you watch a movie about, well, at least an American one, when you watch a movie about a serial killer, usually serial killers are male characters.
Right.
So for Argento to go with, well, let's just bring it up, the big spoiler. Let's just bring it up. For Argento to make, Monica, a female character, the killer, the murderer in the end.
Right.
I think that takes a lot of balls to do that, and I think that's a very
it does.
Yeah, and I think that's a very bold move. So
it is.
Yeah. So did you when you saw it, the revelation of it, of course, when Sam finally remembers what he had actually seen, did you buy into that?
Yes and no. I started they like wheels started turning, when they're at the zoo, and seeing the bird, which is actually a fake species of bird, by the way. Like way in there. And they hear the scream. You gotta scream, and and they come in and see Renzi and Umberto Rao, struggling with that they like knife, and Sam lunges at him, trying to stop him. He just goes from from like 180 and back, like at first he's saying like, no, I didn't do it, and then he's like saying like, okay, I did it, and and something's just not adding up here. I'm thinking to myself. So I mean, like he's like not like underwhelming us, like in like how he does it, but it's sort of like, but it's sort of like okay, so all of a sudden the pieces are actually starting to come together for Sam. It's like I mean, like how he did it is like still interesting when you actually like see her push the like sculpture on top of him, whatever. I was actually starting like to think like afterwards, I started thinking to myself like, like man, like man, it feels like he stole that from the girl who know too much, like like when like when like the killer and that is also a female. I'm thinking like okay, like did he sort of steal it, or was or what was he, or was he just doing it in his own way? And I'm writing like I'm far too much into it.
No, so, no, not necessarily. I think you make a good point. I mean, maybe maybe that's it. I mean, like I said, with the use of colors, he obviously looks at films like Blood and Black Lace. So maybe I don't. He never said this. I don't think so. But maybe Mario Bava was like his sort of like his idol or whatever. Maybe that's
true,
why. Maybe that's why he took so much inspiration from it. But in terms of like the explanation of it all, I want to go back to that a little bit later because I have something to say about that.
All right.
But I think the twist in itself, I think it's very effective. It's like, it quite works actually. Yeah. But by the way, speaking of characters, I mean, this movie has a lot of fun characters as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, for some reason, I'm quite endeared by the gay character who owns the store. It's just like,
yeah.
That's like one of those extravagant,
he's fun. He's fun in that, yeah.
Yeah, he's sort of fun. Fun, like in a sort of like comic relief way.
Right.
And yeah, I think he for what he does, he's fun actually. Like
yeah, he is.
And then of course there is like a cameo of Mario Adolf in the
Oh man, yeah.
the guy who eats the cats. It's like
oh man, like yeah, like oh man, like that that actually turned me off. Like to him actually
right.
saying that, like I'm like he's like so out there, and I'm like oh man, like yeah, like I just got bad vibes about him afterwards on that one.
Right, right.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's kind of
yeah,
it's.
yeah.
I mean, it's supposed to be like for humor and stuff, but it's like I get it. But
Oh yeah,
isn't it funny that like the next time? I mean, like I'm in my I own this house I'm living in, but it's like
right.
next time if I ever build a house for myself.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make a house that you have to reach the front door by ladder. So
oh man.
I was like, the first time I saw it, it's like, what is that? It's like really.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh boy.
So that's funny. So let's just keep going. What else do you love or like about this film?
Uh, well, I really enjoyed the aspect of Sam knowing he saw something, but like no matter like how hard he tries, it's just like it's like not like coming to him or whatever, and that sort of gets to be the running um, theme of the film because Morricone and his staff know he's not like like stalling. He like really can't like remember what it is he saw. So
Right. But
like
in a way, it makes me kind of wonder though, and
yeah,
not like because I mean maybe it's because my dad has been a general practitioner as well, or at least in the medical trade, so to speak. But
okay.
I mean, wouldn't is Sam just blocking that out because it's too horrible that he saw that, or how does that work? I have no.
There is a thing called retrograde, like retrograde amnesia, but
Oh,
but like that's no like normal, but like that's normally like found, in like like World War II, two like vets like who also did like espionage,
oh,
and stuff. But I mean, like seeing somebody trying to kill like someone else, like yeah, like that's like very traumatic. So like yeah, I mean like he could be un no, unknowingly like self blocking it out. So
oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah. That sounds right. Yeah. That maybe you have something there. That makes
yeah,
sense. Yeah.
yeah,
That's interesting. Yeah. Maybe that's what it is. I
yeah,
just um. I let me go back to the killings actually and stuff like that for a bit because, like I
okay,
said before, this movie is very Hitchcockian.
right.
The feel about it. And I kind of like the format of this film as well.
Oh
It
yeah,
has, it also has like a bit of, an Agatha Christie vibe going on,
right.
like a bit of like a whodunit.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's pretty. I mean, nowadays it's really a cliche, of course, because it's used like so many times.
Oh man, yeah.
For this film, I think it actually works pretty well. I think. How do you look at that?
I personally prefer that Solomon and the Jallows because for a long while, like from like early college until like like maybe a few years ago, I avoided Jallows because because I thought they were like really bloody, horror films, and then I finally see The Girl Who Knew Too Much, and also the and and also the Scorpion's Tail, and I finally saw. I'm like, hold on here, like these are mainly murder mystery suspense uh, tales. I mean, like some have like some have horror undertones to them,
Right.
or or overt uh, tones, but at heart, like they're just very gritty, detective stories.
Right. Right. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I have a question about that after for you after we finish talking about the movies. But yeah, I mean, a lot of people tend to think that giallos are just horror films, and but I always try to like there are psychological thrillers in there.
Right.
Gothic sort of horror films as well, which I guess you can say are giallos as well.
Yeah.
And it's like, and of course, I mean, there are examples of giallos that push the limit. I
Right.
mean, Lucio Fulci is one of my favorite directors of all time. He's
Right.
probably in my top 5 of favorite directors of all time. I love Lucio Fulci.
Right.
But the New York Ripper is rough.
Oh yeah, I've heard that too. Yeah.
The new, I actually I have it. I have it on Blu-ray because
Okay.
I love the New York Ripper. I love what it does and what it stands for.
Right.
Because there is a lot of social commentary in that film.
Right.
But the New York Ripper is probably, I would say, the New York Ripper is probably one of the most, maybe not bloody or gory, but it's definitely one of the most violent giallos of them all.
Right.
So there are those kind of giallos out there,
Right.
but for the it doesn't mean like all giallos are filled with bloodletting and all of that stuff. It's like
Yeah.
because last year I did a podcast with another YouTuber. About Aldo Lado. You
Right.
reacted to that, of course. I believe.
Yeah.
And we saw. I mean, I had already seen Night Train Murders, but that's not a giallo. But
Yeah.
we did Short Night of Glass Dolls and Who Saw Her Die.
Right.
And Short Night of Glass Dolls was a first watch for me, and
Okay.
I would never have thought that Short Night of Glass Dolls would become one of my favorite giallos of all time. Short Night of Glass Dolls is amazing, and guess what? There is almost no blood in that film.
Okay. Nice.
It's pretty much, it's a psychological sort of thing.
Right.
And I mean, I will get to that in some of the later points with this one, but
Right.
I'm definitely. I mean, I can see why people don't like, for example, the cannibal movies or those zombie movies,
Right.
because they are really explicit in a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah.
But with giallos,
Yeah.
it's kind of par for the course, for giallos to have like really sort of kill scenes that are out there, so to speak. And I mean, I'm not against that as much as most people are. So
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. The probably like strangest kill I've seen in a giallo film was this one with and was what with Anthony Stefan. It was called like Seven Silk Shaws or something, for like like some strange reason, the titles.
yeah.
escaping me. And it's towards the climax and reveal, but a lady, gets like a 2 or 3 minute thing of being shown in a shower, being slashed with a razor, like a straight razor, and that was probably the toughest kill I've seen, ever.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can see that. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
It's well, I mean, I think we're kind of off track here, but I think Don't Torture a Duckling. Have you ever seen that?
I still need to see it because Thomas Million's in it.
Right. Well, I mean, it's for me, it's one of my personal favorites in the Giallo. Right. But that film also sometimes goes places a bit. But the violence that you see in that film, there is a reason behind it.
Right.
So it has a purpose.
Right.
And I'm much more forgiving towards that if it's done in that way. If it has a purpose behind it, then I'm much more forgiving. So
well, of course.
So yeah. So let me just continue here. You said it already, but we have to mention Ennio Morricone's score here. I mean, it's. I mean, the guy just can't make a bad soundtrack. It's like
no. I mean, even if that film is bad, his score isn't.
Right. Yeah. And it's and I want to. By the way, I want to. It's so funny because a lot of the times when on YouTube there are a lot of people who discovered this stuff like for new, like they have just discovered it. And when they talk about soundtracks with Italian and European cinema, the only thing that they can talk about is Ennio Morricone.
Right.
And I always go like Bruno Nicolai, Maurizio, and what's the other? De Angelis, Riz Ottolani. There are so many awesome people who have made incredible soundtracks. It's like Goblin.
Right.
And it's like, but somehow people seem to get stuck on Ennio Morricone, which I mean, I understand. It's like,
of course.
It's kind of like the European John Williams, I guess.
Oh yeah, he is.
Yeah, but no, I mean, Ennio Morricone is like it's and the music in this one as well. It's like it has such a strange sound to it.
Yeah, it does.
For this one. And I don't know how he did it, but it's like it really helps to build tension.
Right. Yeah.
How do you look at the soundtrack?
The soundtrack I enjoy a lot. And it's funny. Like there were a few scenes where he was playing the love theme for Sam and Julia, and in a couple. It almost started to sound eerie and foreboding in certain places, and it's like supposed to be a love theme. So,
right, yeah, no, but that's a more quiet sort of theme,
right?
Kind of laid back and stuff. But for themes like the one I the one you heard in the intro that we played, it's like it's kind of jazzy,
Yeah.
It's but I think it really works. It really works very well.
Oh yeah. He actually started out as a jazz guy.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I think I'm pretty much done with my positives here. So I want to go into some issues that I have, but do you have any more positives on Bird with Crystal Plumage?
Oh yeah. I really loved Suzy Kendall's scene where she's alone in the the apartment, and the killer's coming to get her. She finds the knife, and he frames her right into view, and she's running towards the camera, holding it like this, and screaming, and I'm like sitting there going, please get him in the eye. Please get him in the eye.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Well,
get her in the eye, but
Oh yeah. But like, I thought that was really well done, and some of Kendall's best physical acting.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I agree. And here's the thing, and we already talked about this, for example, with the Indiana Jones trilogy.
Right.
I don't like it when a female character makes dumb decisions.
Right.
And Suzy Kendall as Julia, I believe her name is, right? Yeah. And Julia is actually in that scene. Julia is actually quite smart. She makes quite smart moves.
Yeah.
And I appreciate it for that, because
right.
So especially in slasher movies, like the female characters are always like so dumb.
Oh man! It's criminal.
Yeah, it's really well. That's the thing. I think it's also like as if all women are dumb and stuff. So that's like so stereotypical.
Oh man, and stupid. Yeah.
Yeah. So the fact that he portrayed Suzy Kendall, Julia, as that, I think is really to be appreciated. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So do you have any more positives, or should I start going into some issues?
I'm good.
Okay. So let me start for a bit. So I have a couple. I do really like this film, but I do have a couple of issues with it that sort of stick out.
Okay.
So let me start by saying this. Let me rephrase it this way.
Okay.
As a seasoned fan of and viewer, like you are, of course, as a seasoned fan and viewer of Giallo films and Italian cinema in general, European cinema, The Bird with the Crystal Plumage is a very generic Giallo. I feel like it's maybe it's to do with the fact that if you've seen Don't Torture a Duckling or Deep Red or other Short Night of Glass Dolls or whatever you name, if you have seen like the real like top bill Giallos,
right?
The Bird with the Crystal Plumage, to me anyway, is very much Giallo paint by numbers.
Right.
It feels kind of generic in the subgenre, and I don't really blame Argento for this. I mean, maybe this is just me being a sort of wintered Giallo viewer right now, but it's it sticks out a bit. How do you feel about that?
Well, had it been from a seasoned fella like Mario Bava, or if Argento or Fulci or anybody else had done it like later, like in their career, I'd have said, it's a sloppy job.
Mm-hmm.
But because it's Bava's first. I'm sorry, but because it was Argento's first ever film, I can be forgiving because he was, still getting his feet wet as a director. So by the numbers film for a first time out guy, I don't mind like so much, because it's like still a process for them.
Right. No. I fully acknowledge that this is his first it's his first film, and I would say it's a pretty strong film at that. I think, for a first feature, I think it's actually pretty strong.
It is.
Yeah. I'm just saying that, and again, maybe the fault is with me. If you have seen really the top high water marks Giallos, like I said, Don't Torture a Duckling or whatever, then this just it feels smaller in a sense.
Right.
Let's just say that. And that's not the film's fault or Argento's fault, but
of course.
But as someone who has seen Giallos for so long, it kind of sticks out a bit, I would say.
Right.
So that's my first thing. And to go along with that, which is something that we already addressed here, for a Giallo, even for the more tame Giallos, let's just say that. Okay. Even for the more tame Giallos, the more, easy Giallos.
Yeah.
I would still say that the kills in Bird with the Crystal Plumage are kind of bland and anticlimactic. I mean, there isn't like a lot of like shock value to it. It's a lot of the time it's also like sort of like done halfway. Like, for example, in the elevator when Monica is like with the razor and stuff. It's like,
right.
So he shows her going this way, but then you don't really see like the cuts or whatever.
Right.
And I'm not saying it has to be like explicit or whatever. We already talked about that, but there isn't like a lot of like it doesn't like throw a punch as much,
right?
If that makes sense. And that's another thing that kind of sticks out. How do you feel about that whole thing?
Well, funny enough, here it works because it's just like like random picked people or whatever, like which is more slasher-esque, which I'm not really like that big on, honestly, but I mean, like a good Giallo to me, the kills are when the characters have some connection to the killer, because like to me a proper murder mystery story is someone's looking to profit from something, and everyone who's killed stood in that person's way.
Right.
I mean, like nobody's really standing in Monica's way. Like she is just a very traumatized and just very out there woman who's just picking people at random, which to me actually feels like a letdown in any sense. Like I mean, like those kills feel just like throwaway. It's like shock value kill for the sake of it, for the sake of it, which to me doesn't do any film any justice.
Right. No, I totally agree with that. I totally agree. Yeah. So yeah. I agree that the if you have like kills and stuff, the kills should matter on like a personal level to either the main protagonist or the cop or whatever or stuff like that. Yeah. And in this film, Monica also it almost seems like she is just killing people for cannon fodder, something like that.
Right.
And it's which goes into like my third and final issue, but we'll get there. But in terms of like the kills itself, the kills just don't leave a very like lasting effect, if that makes sense. So that's like kind of like my second issue with it.
Yeah.
And my third and final issue that I have with it is actually a bit of a bigger one.
Okay.
even though I like the twist, I love the twist about Monica being, the killer, of course, because I think that's very brave and bold to do
Of course.
that way. However, I do feel like Argento could have given us a little bit better of an explanation as to like why she became the way she is when we see that finally. And I'm not saying that you have to give like a big exposition dump like they do at the end of Psycho, for example.
Right.
But I mean, I would have preferred it if Argento just gave us a little bit more information, like when the psychiatrist is talking at the end to Inspector Morosini.
Right.
I mean, just give us a little bit. I needed a little bit more. That's all.
Right.
Especially in terms of like, so why and when did her husband got involved in the killings? That sort of stuff,
Right.
So how do you look at that?
Well, oddly enough, like I thought when the psychiatrist was talking, I thought Monica was the girl in the painting, like Mario Adorfsky did. Like I thought she was the young girl attacked all those years ago.
Well, that's basically what they say.
Oh, okay. So
that's basically what the psychiatrist says. That she was the little girl or the woman, and that her sort of like psychosis was dormant until like later on, and but she identified more with her attacker than
Yeah. So I mean, like I'm not a psychology I'm like amateur even, but I don't know. I mean, it was, I mean, to me, it was like, like fine as a first feature ending, ending, but like, I mean, like, I'd have liked to have known too when the husband chime in, unless like you want to look at it as he somehow managed to stumble onto the first ever kill.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Like that makes the that like most sense to me, because like even in a psychotic state, like I don't think she could have kept that from him for too long anyway.
No, that's another thing. Like well, let's just say, for example, I just throw this out there.
Okay.
Let's just say that, for example, because she identifies with her attacker and stuff like that. Let's call it Stockholm syndrome for the sake of it. Let's just call it Stockholm syndrome.
Okay.
I mean, that's a pretty noticeable affliction.
Right.
Like, wouldn't her husband have identified that sooner?
Yeah, of course.
That's like, I mean, if you really love someone, you notice that stuff, right? And it's like,
oh yeah, I mean, it's it's like when you have like someone like married to a twin, and and they one twin kills the other, like like you like would know, especially in the bedroom, like if it was like in your husband or your wife, like you're making love to. So
yeah, exactly. And it's that sort of stuff. I would have preferred it if they gave me a little bit more. But okay, it's but it is what it is. But that's all the issues I have with it. Do you have any issues with Bird with the Crystal Plumage?
Not too many. I mean, the one that's sort of stuck on my mind a bit was when Sam initially sees the attack, and then he like fully remembers it. Like I mean,
Mm,
when you first see that scene, I mean, it really does look like it is like Monica being attacked. Like, I mean,
yeah,
I sort of feel like Argento reshot that when Sam actually does realize like what he saw, and that it was like Monica having a sadistic growl on her face, like lunging at her um husband, who for whatever odd reason is like draped all in black.
right, right, yeah, yeah. That's a bit odd. I agree. That's a bit odd.
Yeah.
And maybe, yeah, maybe it was reshot, or maybe Argento just wanted to throw us off, as an
Oh yeah,
audience.
true.
It's like, but yeah, it does feel a bit odd. I can agree with that. Yes, yes. So, um, do you have any other issues with this one, or?
Well, I mean, I do feel like Suzy Kendall should have had a bit more characterization. I'm not gonna lie, not that she isn't great in her role, but she feels more like the generic girlfriend.
Right, right,
And I haven't seen too much stuff with her, but she's too good of an actress from what I have seen, to just be the generic love interest.
right. Yeah,
Yeah,
she's the kind of like the generic love interest, like you said.
yeah,
She's sort of like the girl to be there in distress and stuff like that. Sort of.
right,
I mean, she does have that one great scene that we talked about,
right,
but yeah, she doesn't have like too much to do. But if you want to see like a really great role of her, I don't know if you've seen it already, but there is this non-exploitation movie called "A Story of a Cloistered Nun."
Oh yeah. I actually have that in a box set. I still need to watch.
Okay, well, Susie Kendall is in that,
Right. Yeah.
and she is great in that. She has a big role as well. She is really good in that. So you should watch that one.
Right.
She's really good in that one. She's great. So yeah, but here she's kind of there. It's true. So
Yeah.
do you want to share anything else on this film, or shall we go into ratings?
Oh yeah. I like it was looking at something online, and it actually differed from some info I saw on the IMDb, DB, and like also in the one special feature in the Arrow disc. Argento actually based this film on a pulp novel by a guy named Frederick Brown, called the Screaming Mimi.
Oh yeah, Screaming Mimi. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and he only changed the 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 setting and the profession of the killer, like because in like the book, which I'm not sure if it's still in print or not, but I had seen it was set in Chicago,
Oh,
and the Monica character was actually a stripper.
oh, that's interesting. Wow. Okay, I didn't know that. Yeah, I mean, I've never read the Screaming Mimi, and
Yeah,
to be honest, I don't even know if you can find it anywhere, but
right,
right now. But I mean, it does make sense for that. It was Argento's first feature.
right, yeah,
He didn't start writing his own scripts yet, so it would make sense for him to take inspiration from a novel like that.
Oh yeah, but oh yeah, like yeah, that's like funny because he only changed the setting. He transported it from Chicago to Rome, and he made the stripper an art gallery owner,
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
so that he stuck primarily to the source like stuff like actually I loved a lot. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm always a defender of that. Whenever they adapt something from a book,
yeah,
I'm always the one screaming like you have to. Not
do it
saying that.
right. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm not saying you have to follow it like 100%,
right,
but you have to stick to the source material.
right.
And yeah, I mean, I'm a big defender of that, and yeah, it says a lot that he did that actually for this one. So yeah, that's yeah. So anything else?
Uh, oh yeah, I did feel like Eva Renzi was kind of channeling excuse me, Valentina Cortese, from The Girl Who Knew Too Much for her role as like it was Monica, only she was like laughing more, like whereas uh Cortese was more like, having this like very like noticeable wild look in her eye.
Right, right, right. Well, I think when Monica has Sam like pinned down in like when the thing
Yeah,
falls on top of it, and she's like, almost like an animal or something. She's
a
like
spider. Yeah,
a spider or whatever, and
yeah,
she's looking at him.
yeah,
She has a wild look in her eyes in that moment, but yeah, overall she has sort of like this cackling, insane laugh.
yeah.
Um, but I mean, it goes back, I guess, to like taking inspiration from Bava's
Bava.
work,
Yeah,
which is, I mean, which just goes to show that like how much of an influence Mario Bava has been in like the um,
genre. Yeah,
yeah, the genre over and the Italian cinema overall. So yeah, it says a lot. So
yeah.
yeah. So yeah, like I said, I don't have any more to talk about for this one. So if you don't have any more, we can go into ratings.
Okay. I'm good. I'm good.
Okay. So do you want to go first? Should I?
Sure. Like I'll go first.
Okay. Go ahead.
I like would give this a solid 7.5 out of 10.
Okay. That's fair. That's fair. 7.5. That's fair. Um, that's
Yeah.
actually pretty decent. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, I mean, Bird with the Crystal Plumage, which, by the way, you talked about the Arrow release.
Oh yeah. Whoop. Same here.
Oh, you have the same one. There you go.
Yeah.
It's great. It's gorgeous. But yeah, Bird with Crystal Plumage. I would say for a first main feature, it's a very decent film. I mean, it's not perfect, but Argento is still finding his footing and all of that stuff.
Right.
There are some issues with it, and it's definitely not like his best work or whatever. But for what he was trying to do, I think it's a decent enough film. I'm a little lower than you. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10.
Okay. Well, that's fine.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Which doesn't mean that I don't like the film, by the way. So,
Right.
all right. So that was Bird with Crystal Plumage. I guess we move on to opera now. Opera, which is from much later, 1987. It was released, of course.
Yeah.
Which we'll get to. So again, quick synopsis here. A young opera singer on the cusp of stardom is hounded by a psychopath with a connection to her past, who forces her to watch as he brutally murders her friends and colleagues. So yeah, that's pretty much sums it up. So yeah, I mean, opera, Dario Argento's film released in 1987, of course, very late in his career. A lot of let's start with this. A lot of people say that opera was Argento's last really great film that he made. And I have my own opinion about that, but let's start with you. How do you feel about that? Do you agree or disagree?
I do definitely feel it was at the height of his prowess.
Right.
I like what I mean, it's not really like his like last great film, but it was probably the last one that would like be up there with greats like Suspiria, Blood and Black Lace, like it's the last of the top tiers, I think.
Right. Yeah. I think partly though is because it's I talked about this with James from Poliziotteschi and Giallo Reviews. I mean the high water mark of the Italian European cinema was really in the 60s, 70s, and 80s.
Right.
And being that this was like at the end of the 80s, the Italian European cinema was already like sort of like starting to tumble down a bit.
Right.
And I think that's why people hold it in such high regards, because let's be honest, after the 80s there's not really a lot of high points. But and I don't agree with it being his last great film, though. I mean, if you look at like I'm a very big defender of the Stendhal Syndrome. I think that's a great film. I don't know if you ever seen it, but Sleepless is fantastic. That's with Max von Sydow, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's probably like his best one after opera.
Right.
And of course, he also made Mother of Tears, which is the third chapter in the the Witches the trilogy. Yeah,
the like mothers.
The three mothers. Yeah. So he definitely made some really good films. But like you said, this was definitely at the sort of like the
Apex.
high water. Yeah, the high water mark of his career, I feel like. So yeah, it's a very interesting film for that. So before we go into positives and negatives again, what are some of your main thoughts about opera?
Well, I actually wasn't sure I was going to like it at first, but then he just he brings Yo in like full force from the very start, because he actually shoots the opening from the point of view of the unseen belladonna, hard hard to take lead. I know, and it's all shot from her perspective until she walks out, and bam, the car hits her.
Right. Yes. It's very it starts up with a bang. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it does. Yeah. I mean, you can tell from the way we are doing this discussion, but I adore opera. I'll get back to that when we go to ratings and stuff. But this is I'm such a big fan of this film for lots of reasons. And I think I saw this the first time I saw this, I was like in high school, and we just made the transfer from VHS to DVD. And we still had video stores, and I saw a DVD of opera in the video store, and I thought like, well, I already knew Suspiria, so it's like I'm just gonna pick this and watch it, and I was still like blown away by it for so many reasons. Yeah, I'm really, really big on this film, which we will get to, but let's just get started. I mean, let me start again with the positives, because you already kind of set it up there with the main ballerina that is that what you call it? Opera singer, ballerina? I don't know.
Like she would be a soprano lead.
Right, soprano lead. Yeah. For the people who are watching, I'm not like an opera expert, so forgive me, please. But it's like, yeah. But the singer, the main singer, let's just say that.
Yeah.
You already set that up, but I love how Argento in this film. I love how he shows the arrogant, entitled, and hypocritical side of what the world of artists can be.
Right.
Because when she is like when she is singing, she is like annoyed by everything.
Yeah.
And then she just like, as if she's like the director or the main guy who's orchestrating the whole thing. Is like she's just pulling the plug. It's like, I'm done. And even when she's walking off, she's still like annoyed by everything. It's like, oh my God, like, could you get any more vain? It's it's like,
oh man, like, yeah, I think he was channeling a little of a Maria Callas there, who was like, who was talked about in the press constantly as being the most difficult female opera star out there, which she claimed until her own passing she was not like that bad.
Right. Yeah. Oh, it's just like the popularity and egos and all of that. It gets in the way, and it's like, and when you are on stage or on the screen or whatever, you become like a different person. And by the way, I'm not saying that all artists are terrible people. I mean, there are like, I recently rewatched a film with another film with Harrison Ford.
All right.
Called Blade Runner. I don't know if you know that, but
yeah.
And I recently saw another interview with him as well. I think he's 81 now or something.
Yeah, he is up there.
Yeah, he's up there. But I mean, Harrison Ford is just he's a kind guy, and he's very level-headed, and he's just like, and he's just very hardworking, and he's very humble and all of that. So I'm not saying that all artists are terrible people, but I mean, if you look at this, like, let's just say the elitist category of artists, I mean, they are like, holy crap, man. I mean,
oh my God, yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's really like you can and even when like the main lead, the soprano, is walking off, it's like you can already hear her complaining about like the wrong temperature that her champagne has, or like they didn't put the caviar on the cracker the right way or whatever.
Oh my God, yeah.
Oh my God. But it definitely goes there. But let me throw it over to you. Let's just dive into it. So let's just start again with positives. What are some of the things you appreciate about opera?
Well, I first like enjoyed the setting in the opera house, because I'm not a huge fan of opera myself, but I did grow up around it because my father loves opera. So and I want to ask him questions, so like I know all about the major like things, and actually, like, the only aria I've like really loved out of an opera was the one from Pagliacci, So, but I actually do like all of the stories the operas are about, but I actually did see one on TV once, and I'm like, everyone is just like standing around, and I mean, I think how it's sung is better than that, than how it's acted. So,
Right. Yeah,
and
yeah,
but that setting in the house is good, good, like that they're putting on the Scottish play that brings on bad luck, or ever, in which Argento even today says I should have never picked that play because it was nothing but bad luck.
right. Yeah. Well, I mean, especially after his career after this, but it's
Yeah.
he never reached the heights like that again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm not. Let me be clear. I'm not like dishing or beating down on opera. I mean,
Right.
I think opera is a really valid and great art form that if you like are into that, you can definitely like sink your teeth in and love it. I mean, like your dad. I mean, my father is really into opera as well, and
Oh, cool.
and yeah, and look, and I don't understand it one bit. I don't see the appeal about it. But he adores it, and that's great for him. That's fantastic. I love that, and it's like. But it's so I never want to be down on it, but it's just not my thing really.
Right.
But for this film, I mean, it really works in the context of like what the story is and stuff.
Yeah.
But you talked about the opera house. Let me just start with one of my positives here. I mean, the cinematography is gorgeous in this one.
Oh man, yeah.
It's like the POV shots when he walks through the entire theater, with the stairs and
Right.
then through the hallways and downstairs and then through doors and all of that, and then even the sweeping shots in the opera room itself, with when the camera moves like through it, almost like a bird and stuff.
Right.
Which is like, Argento had like cameras on wires, and he would like just push them from one like room to the one side to the other,
Right.
and they would turn and stuff like that. But just the craft behind the cinematography is like it's so mesmerizing. How do you feel about that?
Well, that is actually both a positive and and a negative for me, because I love how he frames the shots and every thing, all of the cool angles he uses in that. But I feel like also how he lights certain scenes, it's still interesting, but it feels very cold though. He almost uses all these cold, cold, cold neutral colors.
Right. Yeah. He's not as color rich as he is in his other films.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that is. Maybe it's to do with like you said, the opera itself is about bad luck. The topic of the subtext of the story here is also kind of like down. I don't want to say, downbeat a little bit.
Yeah.
So and maybe because of that, he chose to go with like more grim colors or something. I think maybe that's why he chose that. But I can definitely see why it sticks out for you. Yeah. So
yeah.
But apart from that, what do you apart from the colors and stuff? What do you think about the cinematography itself?
Yeah, like oh man, like it is excellent. Like I actually especially liked his close up of the one Raven's eye.
Right.
He actually gets right up in this thing's face and eye,
Yeah.
and I'm thinking like, how did this thing like not attack the cameraman? Because it's like literally like right up in there on him.
Right. Right. Well,
Yeah.
I'm wondering like how did they use the ravens properly in the first place? I mean, it's like, if you see them like flying through the auditorium, is that
Right.
what you call it? If you see them flying through the auditorium and stuff, that feels very controlled to me. So
Oh
it's like,
yeah.
how did you achieve that with birds? It's really like, that's really something.
Oh yeah. Ravens. I've actually found out like ravens are actually pretty smart birds.
Oh, okay.
I mean, like birds, so they aren't like too tough to train. I mean, I imagine with like a dozen or more, it's a little bit harder. But but uh but training wise, that that they aren't that hard. I'm like Hitchcock actually said when he did the birds like that, the ravens were actually quite gentlemanly
Oh,
on
okay. Mm.
on the set, but they are also very vindictive. So like you can't go so hard on them. Like otherwise they'll just other than otherwise they will envelop you and attack you.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is something that is shown through, I think, two key scenes in this movie
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Which brings me to like one of the very few. I have very few issues with it, but with this film, but it brings me to one of the few issues that I have with it is that, this goes to the cannibal films as well.
Right.
Because as much as I love and adore the Italian cannibal films,
Right.
I can't with the animal cruelty.
Right. Yeah.
And and I don't know if they were fake birds or if they were real birds with opera.
Right.
But the scene where the killer is like, because they are attacking him, but when the killer who's like slashing, bashing the birds and stuff, that's a bit rough for me.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they were fake ravens or real ones, but I don't know.
Like I couldn't see anywhere on the like IMDb trivia or anywhere. Well, I'm here anywhere. If like those birds were like real or fake or not.
Right. Well, the ones that are flying of
are
course,
real. Yeah,
they are real, but I don't know about that. But yeah, that's always a little difficult for me. But let me throw it over to you again. What are some other things that you appreciate about opera?
Well, like let's see. I did like the like total being being in the dark about the killer's motives. Like all we know is that he has some sort of obsession with like with the like lead singer Betty.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I think it has. I think it was something with Betty's mother, I believe, but
Right. Yeah.
but it's kept very vague.
Yes.
And in a way, I really appreciate that,
Oh yeah.
because in a certain sense, that adds another layer of like scariness on it. Like
Right.
when it's always interesting to find out why a murderer is doing what he does.
Right.
But when you don't really know the motivations, that makes it even scarier. I think.
Right.
So I think that's actually a positive on opera.
Oh yeah, it is.
So and also, I mean, let's just dive into spoilers. I mean, the killer is not even the killer is the freaking cop.
Yeah, it's like, geez, like, yeah, you're like that, totally came out of left field. Like, I actually spent the entire thing thinking the director, like Marco, actually was the killer, because he's this, pompous, like, arrogant guy, like, who seemed to actually be cheating, on having his, like, stuff together, and then, like, just being, like, a total tyrant, because like he seemed a little too at ease, like, in certain things, and I'm like, okay, like something's up here. I'm like,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well,
uh,
I think a lot of people feel that way, and
oh yeah,
I certainly did as well. Yeah, and again, like you said, very pompous and stuff, which goes back into like what we already talked about. The elitist side of the art of the artists and
the
stuff.
street, yeah,
Yeah. And but yeah, Marco. I mean, when I saw the movie for the first time,
yeah,
I felt the same way too. I thought like, oh, it's probably Marco.
yeah,
And then it's like when they do that whole trap trick of like finding the killer and stuff. It's like
oh yeah.
I was like, holy crap! It's the cop. Wow! I didn't like what the hell.
Oh man, like, yeah, like, oh man, like, yeah,
Yeah.
and it's like, like, funny. I found out, like, years back, that if you put, ravens in a group, it's called a murder. It,
Oh, really?
oh yeah, oh yeah. It's actually called a murder of ravens.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that. Okay,
Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense.
yeah,
But I think if you go back to the killer and stuff, like no motivations and stuff,
yeah.
I I think you could I think you could even go for the angle of just insane stalker fan
Right.
of Betty, because at the start of the movie, when I think the first kill happened or whatever,
Yeah.
he is asking her for her autograph and stuff.
Right.
So I guess you could even if you interpret it yourself, you could even go with the motivation of creepy, insane stalker fan.
Right. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense as well, actually. So
Oh yeah.
it leaves it up to interpretation a bit. But to go along with the oh, sorry, you were going to say something.
Well, yeah, my mom actually, she loved the like the on this one, like, soap opera in the '80s, and they had on a really good actress, and she actually left the show because a guy started stalking her,
Oh, yeah,
and she feared for her life and actually left.
right.
Like, and I actually, like, researched it a bit, and I never found out, like, what eventually happened
Mm,
to like, that guy. If he was, caught, or if he, just died or something. And
mm.
so, like, yeah,
Yeah,
so, like, yeah, I mean, like, that's what actually makes it scarier, if it is an obsessed fan, because it has happened.
right,
Yeah,
right. Well, I mean, not like I guess that's one of the risks when you put yourself in the public eye.
right.
It's like with camera and paparazzi and all of that. It's like,
Yeah.
it's that you can venture into some pretty creepy stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
Yeah.
that's always unfortunate, and it's that's always that always is a tragedy when that happens. So yeah. But I want to go into like the killer a bit more, because that brings me to another positive that I have for this,
Okay.
which goes back a little bit to the bird with the crystal plumage. The kills in this film are great. It's
Oh man, yeah.
the kills in this film. I mean, like
Yeah.
the what is again? The coat hanger kill. It's like that's so. It's like, oh god, that is so like, man.
Oh man, like yeah, oh yeah, the only kill I actually hated in this was the like first one, like when it's the stagehand she's sleeping with, like what like I saw that and I'm like, yeah, actually seeing they blade like stick out of his like throat.
Yeah,
Yeah, like I'm like, that's just too much. Like, I mean,
yeah,
like
yeah.
I'm like he went. I'm like, I like, I'm overboard. I mean, like, I actually thought everything else after that like was actually pretty tame.
Right, right. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's almost like you want this girl to stay single because it's like the one person she falls in love with. It's like
yeah,
it's like the but
yeah,
like you said, the knife in the throat. But then when you
yeah.
went into the mouth and you see the pointy tip coming, it's like
Right, yeah,
that one goes places. Absolutely,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
pretty yeah. But I think my favorite scene is kill scene is the one with the scissors,
Oh,
um, where he sticks it in with the teeth and stuff. It's like that's
yeah.
oh my god, that's so bad.
Oh man, like yeah, oh man, like yeah. Actually, like my favorite is actually when Daria Nicolodi is like lugging through the um like a peep hole, and
Oh
you actually see the bullet going through the peephole.
yeah,
Oh yeah, like just how he framed that scene, and then like you see her like being like shot back in like slow motion. Like
yeah,
that I thought was a really well done kill.
yeah, very well done. And
Yeah,
also, like you said, I mean, how did he do that? I mean, in like a practical effects kind of way. It's like, how do
right.
you
Yeah,
yeah, how does he do that? I have no idea. But yeah,
yeah,
it's very effective. Very effective. And but it's again, why do you have to do that to your real wife, Argento? Why do you have to do that to your real wife?
Oh man, like yeah. Actually, I think she had left him then already.
Yeah,
Already,
yeah.
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 So I mean, like, so like maybe it was kind of like like a lover's revenge type uh, thing. Like probably.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm saying that as a. I mean, I'm
Right.
sure. I'm sure when she was working with Argento. I mean, I'm pretty sure she knew what they were doing. So
Right.
it's like but it's sort of like an inside joke, I guess. But
Right.
it's like yeah. But that kill is pretty inventive as well. So
Yeah.
because again, it's also a kill that I don't think it's a kill we have seen very often, like with the gun, like you said.
Oh yeah.
That
Yeah.
doesn't that doesn't happen in Giallos that often. So
Yeah. Like nah. Yeah. Like nah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Like most kills in Giallos are usually with like some sort of blade, like or sharpened edge, like instrument. Like you don't see too many people being shot in a Giallo.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty inventive as well. What else do you have for opera? What do you have more positives?
Uh, oh yeah. I did enjoy Cristina Bella Lasky's before like for Mrs. Betty. I actually saw her sister in a film prior to watching her in this.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. And her sister is good. Is good too as an actress.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Okay, but yeah, I was gonna go to that later. But I mean, Christina Marsillach, I believe her name is. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. As Betty, uh, she is phenomenal. I mean, what a great performance. She is fantastic in this film, and again, it goes back to what I was saying: a strong female lead. That I mean, right? I mean, like that's the like she makes she makes smart choices,
Right.
But she's also she's also vulnerable, but she is
Right.
very headstrong. Let's just
Right.
say that. Yeah, it just goes into like just a smart, strong female character. And that doesn't mean like I mean terrible things are happening to her, but it's like
yeah, like she's like like staying strong to a certain like extent.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, that's she's phenomenal in this. Great performance, and great casting as well. But I think the other one that is great about this, even though you don't see him that much, but when it's revealed, I mean, if you're gonna play a creepy cop killer or a cop sort of psychopath.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. I forgot the name of the actor, but the guy who plays the killer is. I think he's pretty good as well.
Oh yeah, he is. He is like I mean, and this is actually a negative of mind. Of mine. Like you really don't get any hints that like hey, like like something might be up with him.
Right.
Like him because like you like would think like being a like long term homicide detective, like he'd be a little bit like like maybe not so much cynical, like but like he'd have a hard edge from like seeing like so many murder victims, and he's just like he's like far too gentlemanly to be yeah homicide homicide guy. So
Right. Yeah. It's kind of like it's. I agree. It's coming a little bit out of left field, and it's. But also like, and this goes back to again the bird with the crystal plumage with the husband of Monica.
right.
I mean, there are more like police officers on the force,
Yeah.
and again, wouldn't that kind of strange behavior wouldn't that stick out amongst your colleagues?
Right. Yeah.
That's like and I'm not like colleagues are very different than husband and wife, but I mean still you would start to notice stuff, right?
Yeah.
So that's like a little bit, but again, it's kind of I get it. It's you could go for, just motiveless, crazy guy with, so it doesn't bother me as much as it does in the bird with the crystal plumage, I think.
Right.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so he's pretty good, I think. We already mentioned her. I think Daria Nicolodi is pretty much great in everything.
Yeah.
I mean, even though she has like not really a
small part.
very, very big role in this, but I really like her as the it's always good to see a character who is just a good friend and
Right.
who doesn't have like ulterior motives,
Right.
who just is like a very supporting persona for the main character.
Right.
And Daria Nicolodi's character in this, Mira, I believe her name was.
Yes.
She's just that character. I mean, she is like she's like one of the characters where you are absolutely sure that she isn't the killer.
Right.
You know that from she's just too good of a person for her friend. So yeah, so she's pretty great. Again, the score. I mean, also from I believe Ennio Morricone, if I'm not mistaken. Was it? I think so.
Right? Hold on. I'll look myself here.
I don't want to mispronounce it, but I think it was Ennio Morricone anyway.
Okay, hold on. Here, yeah.
Oh God, why is the? Okay. Oh no, it's Claudio Simonetti. It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, Claudio Simonetti. Sorry, but
yes,
Claudio Simonetti's score is great as well. And I believe he wrote most of the opera music as well for this one.
Right. Okay.
At least the parts where Betty is not singing, just the background music.
Right.
I believe he wrote a lot of that as well. But just also the soundtrack in general is actually, I think it works very well for this one.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The only thing I was kind of perplexed with was when it would go from the standard score to the heavy metal like music or whatever.
yeah.
Ever like yeah. I mean, I don't hate it.
No.
But it just like feels like so out of place.
Right.
I mean, I know he was going for the whole chaoticness of like the moment, like stuff like for it, but I mean, he should have probably chose something better than heavy metal.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's also like if I'm really gonna go 80s, I'm gonna go 80s. It's like yeah. But it's I mean, you're right. It kind of feels out of place with the rest of it. It almost feels like you're in some kind of like biker film or whatever. It's like really like it's it's kind of a weird scene, but I mean, I in a way I understand it. I think metaphorically I think it represents Betty's rage at this point,
right?
How she feels towards losing her friends and stuff. Maybe that was the angle, but you're right. It does feel a little bit out of place there with the rest. Because the rest of the film, it almost feels like sort of like classical music.
Oh yeah, it does.
Yeah, which really fits with the of course of the theme of opera and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. That scene is a bit weird. So yeah, what do you have like any more positives on opera?
Oh yeah, I actually liked how they staged the scenes, like when actually show them like doing like the opera on the stage. I did like the sort of avant-garde, Cabinet of Doctor, Caligari German expressionism type setting. I actually thought like those designs were super cool.
Right. No, I agree. It's really yeah. It definitely has kind of like a it definitely has kind of like a vibe of like Max Schreck and Dave Schramm and all of that from those German expressionistic stuff. That's definitely in there for sure. And it also has kind of like a when you look at the stage of the opera and stuff, it also, and I don't know if he did this deliberately, but it also has kind of like an industrialistic feel to it.
It does.
Which feels very odd in like a sort of like an opera house that is probably from like old Roman times, and then you have you have like this modern thing in the middle of it, which is kind of like but it's in terms of the contrast, it actually, I think it works.
It does.
So I think I'm pretty much done with my positives on this. So do you have any more things that you admire about opera, or do you want to go into issues?
I think I'm pretty good on the positives. Yeah.
I think we said a lot of things that can be praised about this. So do you want to start with issues? Should I?
Oh, sure.
You already mentioned a few, but
besides like those, how the killer keeps her eyes open, that just freaked me out. Anything going out eyeballs freaks me out.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I love the creativity of it, but just thinking about it being actually used on somebody, I mean, knowing if you try to move, it is going to either blind you or or tear up your flesh and skin.
Right.
It's kind of it's just too much there.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, it goes with the sadistic tendencies of I forgot his name, Santini. It goes with the sadistic sort of things of Santini that Santini has. But in reaction to that, I mean, again, and I think she is probably the strongest in these moments. Again, what was her name again? Cristina Marsillach.
Right.
The way that Cristina acts in those moments when she has to watch someone get killed.
Right.
I mean, and she can't even talk just with the eyes.
Right.
Oh, it's so good.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
Absolutely. And you just feel it. You feel how terrified she is, and it's like so in that way, I think it really works. But it's a pretty gnarly device. It never turns into eye candy though. It's
oh my god, yeah.
It never goes Lucio Fulci style. So but I can see why that's it's a pretty wild thing there. Yeah. So continue with the issues that you have.
Let's see. Actually, I can't think of too much else. Actually.
Okay. Yeah. So I go into my issues then, and I actually have one.
Okay.
But it's a pretty big one, and I'll lay it out for you, and then you can give me your take on this. Okay.
Okay.
So, oh, by the way, first of all, I have the Severin edition.
Oh, nice. Like, yeah. I actually ordered that like earlier this week.
Okay, well, there you go.
But it's not coming until Tuesday. Like, um,
Oh, okay.
unfortunately, so
Right. But it's
yeah,
it's a gorgeous and the picture quality is great. It looks phenomenal. But
right.
it's but I have this version. Um,
Yeah.
and I watched the director's cut of the film,
Oh, nice.
which for me is the only and ultimate version to see this movie, because it's the most complete version, you know.
Right.
However, the ending scene, and I don't know if you've seen the ending scene of this that I'm mentioning, but the ending
Okay.
scene is ridiculous and completely nonsensical.
Oh,
Like,
like where she's like rolling in the grass at the end.
oh, okay, that's the ending. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm going there. Yeah. So,
Okay.
okay, I like. Oh, look, here we are on a romantic vacation and in the Swiss Alps or whatever. And oh yeah,
Yeah.
by the way, Santini is still alive and has found you after like months or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's complete and utter nonsense. And I think Dario Argento should have just stuck with the the ending that he originally was going to have with Santini just immolating himself in the fire, and then Betty being rescued by her friends, and
Yeah.
that's the end of it. And this ending just feels so tacked on, and
Okay.
it almost felt did the studio demand this from you? I have no
Yeah.
idea. But what's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, I was okay with it, like, until the, stuff on the grass. I mean, I thought it was a very weird way to end it, I know he was probably going with the whole metaphor of she's finally free of all of this,
Right.
and yeah, actually, uh, and a negative of my own is just how Santini stabs Marco, and Marco really makes no effort, like to stop him. I mean, like unless Santini had his arms against his knees,
Right.
I like like come on, like that's too freaking easy a kill.
Right. No. It's
Yeah,
I agree. And like
yeah,
all the other victims of Santini, they at least try to put up a fight.
yeah,
And it's and Marco isn't even like he doesn't
yeah,
even try to grab the knife or whatever. It's like, oh, oh, just stab me, it's fine. It's like it's
yeah.
so
Oh my
weird.
gosh, yeah,
Yeah, it's so weird, and
yeah,
it's like, and I just, because the rest of the film is very strong, and
yeah. It is.
I wonder why he shot this ending in particular, Argento, that is. I mean, was this studio mandated? I have I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
It's very weird, but it just
yeah,
it always like
yeah,
bums me out when I see that. I almost
yeah.
just want to stop it. Like I just want to stop it after Betty is rescued and
Right, yeah,
Santini is dead. Just stop
yeah,
there.
yeah,
It's fine. It's kind of like funny thing, but
yeah,
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 I guess that for me that's the only real downside of opera. I mean, the rest of the issues we talked about are more nitpicks for me,
yeah.
but this is just a really big issue I have with it.
Oh,
Um,
like yeah, yeah. I mean, the only other issue like I had isn't with the film it's self. I couldn't order the 4K from Severin at first because I like was waiting on some birthday stuff.
Mhm.
So I had to watch it on Amazon Prime,
Oh, right, yeah.
and they only had the English dubbed, and
Oh,
that dub is a mess. Like
yeah.
like the British voices are actually good, but
But
the
yeah, yeah.
yeah, but the uh American dubbing. I'm like, geez, I think again, people just did this for the paycheck,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and I'm like, I can't believe how up and down that is, and unfortunately, I didn't really get the chance to see it in Italian. So
Yeah, yeah, that's a bummer. Yeah. I mean, let me say I'll go here first, and then I want to say something about Severin films itself. But
okay,
yeah, the dubbing. We are we are veteran watchers of it, so we
right,
just we already know we have to just click the Italian version with these English subtitles.
right,
But if you don't know that, I mean. Th- it's very annoying to watch a movie like that. I mean,
yeah,
I had someone react to well not on on YouTube, but
right,
actually through text and stuff.
okay,
And they watched Lucio Fulci's House by the Cemetery, The House by the Cemetery,
okay,
and The House by the Cemetery has one of the maybe even the worst American dubbing of like ever. In well, there is a little boy. He's called Bob.
oh
And
yeah, yeah.
yeah, oh, you probably heard about that, but
Oh man, oh everybody complains about his voice.
right, it's so
Yeah,
bad. It's not even funny. It's so bad,
yeah,
and I that doesn't take away from the Italian actor, but I mean,
right,
it's but again, if you don't know that there is like an Italian version, that's really annoying to watch. And
yeah,
it's like, and again, we know to avoid it now, but it's
yeah,
like if you are new to this stuff, it's like, and I've heard people say this. It's like the movie is pretty good, but like, what was that terrible dubbing? And it's like, yeah,
yeah.
you have to look up the Italian version. It's like it's just what it is. But
Uh, true, true. Actually, the candidate for worst dubbing ever of an Italian film is Django. For me, anyway. Way
yeah,
I mean, that dubbing is just it's just god awful. I'm like especially I'm glad I made you feel like a real woman.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah, Django is pretty bad as well. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Luckily, Arrow Video had put the Italian version on that, so it's
yeah.
like But but I want to say something about Severin Films for a bit because
Okay.
what you're saying is true. And by the way, let me say first that Severin Films is a great company. I mean, they made this, so it's like but their shipping is terrible. Because I a while back I ordered on their Black Friday sale.
Alrighty.
It was last year, I believe, in November on their
Okay.
Black Friday sale. I ordered I think it was like 8 movies or something. I think it was 8.
Okay.
I made a separate video about that on my YouTube channel.
Okay.
But it was like I ordered 8 titles, and it took like it. I ordered them in November, and
Right.
I only got them until the end of January.
Ah, geez. Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but it's like, can't you can't you fix your shipping in a better way? It's like, how does that even work? I have no idea. Like, if you look at Arrow Video,
yeah,
or stuff like that, or whatever, or do I have it here or no? Well, I have. Let's just say this: I ordered something from Vinegar Syndrome. They
okay.
have a new Forgotten Jolly box set,
Right.
volume 8. It is. I ordered it on. I ordered it on Tuesday, I believe.
Okay.
Guess when it arrived.
Let's see. I'll say like a month. Like I'll say 2 months later.
No. I mean, I ordered it this Tuesday.
Okay.
I got it today.
Oh. Okay. Huh.
So, it and
Yeah.
Arrow Video, 88 Films, they're all like, why can't Severin, like, why do you have to take 3 months to ship something to your clients? It's like,
Oh yeah.
anyway.
Like well, yeah. Like Black Friday I have found is not the day to buy anything. Thing because you get so many people ordering all at
Right.
once. I mean, like that. Like that, I can actually kind of be forgiving of because it is the busiest shopping day of the year. So
Right. Yes. And I want
yeah,
to give credit to Severin where it's due, because that was probably the problem. That was probably the issue of it. So but still, I mean, 3
yeah,
months, that's, come on. But okay, anyway, so that was like my but I
right.
do love Severin films,
Oh,
so
of course.
but it's, yeah, so it is what it is. But anyway,
Yeah,
so a bit of track there. We were talking about issues.
yeah.
Yeah, so do you have more issues for opera, or?
Um, like not really. I mean, I think I've said everything I didn't like about it. So
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm pretty much done as well. I only had the one big negative that I already
right.
mentioned. So yeah, we can go into ratings again. So who starts first?
Yo, start.
Okay, fine. Okay, that's good. Okay, so yeah, Dario Argento's opera. I mean, let's just I'm just gonna show it again. And it says here on the back, one of Argento's most revealing and accomplished efforts. I agree with that. I think it's. I mean, I adore opera. I think opera is a great film. It's one of my favorite. It's I think after Suspiria, it's my favorite Dario Argento film. It's definitely one of my favorite giallos of the genre. I think it belongs up there with Deep Red and Don't Torture a Duckling and all of that stuff. I think it's top tier giallo. You can question some of, like you said, some of the killings in this, especially the boyfriend. It goes a bit far, but
Yeah,
it's but overall, I really adore opera, and I love this film. And despite that one big negative that I have,
yeah,
the rest of it for me is just nitpicks, really.
yeah.
And it's yeah, I mean, this movie to me anyway is fantastic. I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10.
Oh, nice, nice.
So yeah.
Yeah. I did enjoy it, and I'm hoping to enjoy it more. Like once I can finally, see it in Italian with the subtitles.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, and my stuff is also pretty much net pick in terms negatives too. So yeah, I'll give this even with the ludicrous bad dubbing. I'll give it a solid 8 out of 10.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
I think 8 is a very good rating for opera. I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's very fair. Yeah, yeah. It's yeah, it's like I always say that no movie is perfect. Every movie has little things, but
Yeah.
in terms of just the giallo subgenre, I mean, I still believe that this is like one of the top tier ones. So yeah, opera is yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So, but yeah, good rating. So yeah, those were the movies that we were going to talk about. Again, like I said, I want to ask you one question that we could talk about before I let you go, if you allow me.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Okay. So we already mentioned this a little bit earlier in the Bird with Crystal Plumage, um, but given the whole subgenre, and what it stands for, what it represents, everything that it is, in your opinion, from your point of view, because this is different from many other people. It's subjective, but from your perspective, from your point of view, um, what makes a good giallo?
Oh, well, for me, it's a good, solid story. Like, like whether it's like, somebody committing a crime for revenge, whether it's a money driven one, I'm like that to me is the hallmark of a great, of a great Mr. Ray story, like just, trying to figure out who's doing it all and why. Yeah. I mean, like I've always enjoyed Agatha Christie stories, and I like my mysteries, as more of like, who done it, like a type of thing. Like, I mean, the kills like aren't too bad in general for me. So I mean, I do tend to prefer it when I like put I'm playing with your head, and and you only see bits and pieces of it. I mean, I think if you show them like stabbing whatever, like or just like slicing you up or whatever. I mean, I think like that goes to me a little bit too much into crude performance art against women. You know, like like I mean, I know like I mean I know like it's not um the intent of every director, but like some like just unfortunately come off as such. So I mean, like to me, they less actual blood and more playing it up here, the better, for it. And I've seen quite a few Jellos like that. Case of the Scorpion's Tail has some of the best psychological kills.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I really, I first of all, I agree with you. But I think, I think it's also, you know, it's just, I think it's also like a product of the time in which they were made.
yeah,
Um, because I have this discussion like a lot of times with like new viewers and stuff.
right.
Like, for example, with the let's just say what's a good example. One of my favorite films is I don't know if you've seen it, but I Spit on Your Grave.
Oh,
I
oh,
don't,
I've heard of it. I haven't seen it, but
okay.
I actually did get to like meet the actress, who played the lead.
Oh, okay. That's great. That's awesome.
Yeah,
So yeah, but I Spit on Your Grave, and
yeah,
you know, a lot of people are saying, and I get that. I understand, because rape is hard, very hard to watch.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, and I always say that, like, everyone has like a sort of like a limit to what they can stand and stuff like that, and that's totally fair. That's totally fair. I mean, you should never watch something that you're not like, into or whatever. But I do always say though that, like, because I hear a lot of people say that, like, oh, this movie is so disingenuous and terrible to women. And well, first of all, it's a movie, it's not real.
Right.
And secondly, it's like, it's an actress giving a performance, that would never happen in real life. And thirdly, it's yes, it is terrible, but it's also, I mean, that was just the way films were made in that era.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not defending that.
Oh, of course.
I'm just saying that you have to look at things in the context of which they were made, and I always say this with the cannibal films as well. I mean, it's like, I mean, the animal cruelty is terrible, but I've defended the directors of this. If the studio demands that of you, if the studio demands from you that you put animal killings in your movie, even though you don't want to do it, you're backed into a corner. And if you say no, then you're not allowed to make your movie. So it's like, I think it's not. I think there are so many gray areas when it comes to that. And so I always try to look at things in like the context of which they were made, and
of course,
and the same thing is with the with the Giallos. I mean, there are, I already mentioned the New York Ripper. I mean, the New York Ripper is really brutal. It's really brutal, but it's like, it's a film from 1982, and it's like, and what do you want? That's another thing. Like, like we already talked about it. Like, if you're gonna have kills in a giallo or a thriller or whatever, the kills have to be meaningful,
right?
And they have to pack a punch. And
the Giallo I was speaking of earlier, that had Anthony Stefan, and the shower killing, like, that was gnarly, but I knew fully why the director had it there to show how deranged the killer was.
Right. It's a way to bring across your message to the audience. And I wish more people, especially younger audiences than you or me, I wish younger audiences would understand that better. Like, if you if you want to really get a point across, then sometimes you have to go the limit,
right?
And just do it, right? And it's but
like, probably one of the best killer confrontation scenes I've seen in a Giallo is Death Walks on High Heels. And it's early on in the film when like when the killer thinks Nicole has the jewels, like, he basically comes in from behind her. He tosses her onto her bed, pulls her dress to cover her face, and like you're seeing her there in her bra and panties, and I actually thought that was a very well done scene because he's trying to like literally scare the because he's literally trying to scare the hell out of her into giving up the like jewels, and like you're thinking at first like holy cow, is it gonna like attack her in the worst way, but just how Ercole played that up, it had the right enough tension and also the unease of how he's gonna do it, but like not like so easy that it's like that it's objectionable.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Then that's a good example. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree with you. I mean, as for me, for the Giallo anyway, I agree with you. Story comes first, and story comes always first. Story comes always first, and
right.
And I think the best Giallos for me anyway are the ones that have a really strong story. Short Night of Glass Dolls, Deep Red, now I'm blanking on one. Don't Torture a Duckling. Those movies are as great as they are because they have really strong narratives that have a lot of subtext to them and that you can really sink your teeth into.
Yeah.
And those are the Giallos that are, making it worth for me anyway to watch it, as do you. And when you have your strong story, then you can add other elements to it, like, and I also think atmosphere is a very big one for me anyway.
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah.
You need to have lots of atmosphere, and I think that's something that a lot of movies from today are missing.
Yeah.
Because I was talking about this with someone else, because he also loves zombie movies, and he talked about there was a remake of something or whatever, and some kind of zombie film, and and he thought it was really great, and I said to him, like, okay, why was it great? I always want to hear why it's great. So, and he said all these things, and I said, stop. So I stopped him, because I think this is a very important element even in zombie films. I said, where's the atmosphere in that film? And he said, like, what atmosphere? And it's like, okay, I'm done. It's like, and that one thing that you can't say about the Italian European cinema is that, you do get atmosphere, and you get atmosphere by the bucket load, whether it's the zombie films, or the Three Mothers films, or Giallos, or even Poliziotteschi's, or spaghetti westerns. You get atmosphere by the bucket load, and I think that goes a very long way. That goes a long way. So,
oh yeah, it does.
Yeah, it really does. And apart from that, again, you can add elements to it, like, like killings and stuff. But another very big element, I think, of Giallos, but westerns and Poliziotteschi's as well. But Giallos in general, I think they have to have great soundtracks.
Right. Yeah.
Do you agree with that?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I do. I like some of those, scores are like really excellent, and like really like replayable.
Right. So yeah. So So I thought I'd throw that out there. I was just curious, how you would perceive that, as to like what you thought would make a great Giallo. But I think we're both pretty much on the same page there. So yeah.
Yeah.
So very interesting. So I think I pretty much I think we pretty much covered everything we were going to talk about today. So I think it's time we close off the stream.
Okay.
So let me just throw it out there. First of all, thank you everybody who's watching or has been watching this stream or who is going to watch it, whatever. Thank you all very much. We appreciate you. Stephen, I want to thank you for being here again today and doing this with me. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you, buddy.
I hope you had fun too. So
yeah.
Good, very good. So yeah, this was a blast, and I'm sure we'll do another one of these in the future possibly. So we'll be in touch. So to throw it out there, thank you again everybody for watching. I will be back with more videos as soon as possible, of course, including my new haul video, Blu-ray haul video, which is coming probably at the start of April somewhere. So be on the lookout for that. But again, thank you. Stay safe and healthy as always. Have a good weekend. And before we really close it off, Stephen, where can people find you?
TVNASH on YouTube.com.
There you go. So give him a watch, give him a subscribe, subscribe to his channel, give him a like. Stephen makes really great content as well. So yeah, with that said, again, everybody have a great weekend. Stay safe and healthy as always. And I will see you guys and talk to you guys very soon. So bye everyone. And Stephen, bye. See you, bud.
See you. Thank you.
Yo, thank you. Bye.
Bye.